Galera, vamos lá! As primeiras imagens da nossa infância do universo primitivo, James Webb, Telescópio. E aí? A Cristal hoje vai fazer a live comigo, não é, Cristal? Tá ansiosa aqui em receber as imagens? Ou não? Não gosta muito de beijo, não? Vamos lá, pessoal, vamos lá! Vamos sem mais esperas, porque olha só, 11h30 horário aqui do Brasil, e a NASA já está se preparando aí para fazer a divulgação oficial das primeiras imagens. A primeira já foi ontem, que nós já vimos. A primeira já foi ontem. Vamos aqui, não é esse aqui não, é esse aqui. Vamos já puxar aqui já. Vamos puxar aqui direto da NASA. Quem quiser acompanhar direto da NASA lá, só acompanhar então a live da NASA lá, ok? Vamos dar um som aqui.
And, you know, suddenly we now have the technology to do it. We didn't have 50 years ago. Didn't have the technology 25 years ago, even when we started this.
Está falando um pouquinho da tecnologia para lançar aí o nosso James Webb Telescópio aí. Foi lançado 25 de dezembro de 2021. Há 6 meses. E agora está pronto para mostrar as primeiras imagens.
And gives wings to the dreams of so many people who worked so hard for so long to make this possible. For everyone on Earth, this is your telescope. This is the largest, most powerful observatory ever put in
maior e
space.
mais poderoso telescópio da Terra. Há mais de 1.000 pessoas trabalharam no projeto dele aí, ó. Pedacinho aí do projeto.
So the following phrase is often used too easily, but today actually does mark the dawn of a new era.
Então é o começo de uma nova era, Meu Deus.
The best is yet to come. So, John, one of the things you told me about
então,
is that you really want to make sure
com
there are some people that get thanked, people that put a huge amount of effort into this.
Absolutely.
Líderes da equipe, né?
Our current project manager, Bill Oakes, took the project
tá
from
contando um pouquinho então dessa história aí do James Webb, né?
Exactly know how we were going to get this to work and got it all the way to the end. Here it is.
5 anos de preparação, né, do telescópio aí, os projetos para colocar ele na órbita aí o ano passado.
Involved in making this thing all work, and Bill has been there every day, making sure that it would.
Tiveram alguns probleminhas, normal, o projeto dessa grandeza aí, normal ter alguns tipos de problemas, né?
She saved our telescope, and she saved the telescope before us. She made sure after the Hubble telescope was launched and it was not in focus.
Tá contando um pouquinho do Hubble, que foi o precursor. Nosso telescópio Hubble foi o precursor de tudo, hein?
She made sure we could get that.
E aí tá contando aqui algumas pessoas especiais pro projeto aqui, ó.
Well, it is such an honor to be with you, Jay. I mean, it's been a pleasure to be working with you through this whole thing. Thank you so much. Congratulations and go Webb.
Ele parabenizou aí algumas pessoas especiais pelo projeto, né?
Agora, amados. This mission is a partnership. On our journey to explore distant places in space, we've been joined by intrepid travelers from around the globe.
Tá falando dos parceiros, então, o Canadian Space Agency, a Agência Espacial Europeia, vai falar um pouquinho dos parceiros da NASA. Olá, amados.
From the European Space Agency, I'm joined by Katie Haswell in Darmstadt, Germany. Katie.
Da ESA, então, é a Katie. A Katie vai falar da Agência Espacial Europeia. É a Katie.
I see Katie in the background. Also joining us from the Canadian Space Agency in
Montreal,
Montreal,
da agência
we have Natalie Gillette and Sarah Gallagher.
Do Canadá.
I see Katie in the background there.
Opa, tudo bem?
And so naturally, we're also going to be visiting the nerve center of this mission, the Space Telescope Science Institute, on the campus of Johns Hopkins University in Baltimore, Maryland.
Johns Hopkins University, tem universidades também, parceiras.
And they're going to give us updates and more. Good morning.
Good morning.
Great. So we'll be back with our international
já tem imagem ali atrás, hein? Já tem imagem ali atrás.
Images. But today we're also going to be joined by millions of science fans from around the world.
Milhões de fãs ao redor do mundo. Estamos aqui no Brasil também, né? Milhões de fãs aí da exploração espacial ao redor do mundo todo.
We have a signal from Bhopal. Yes. Excellent. Welcome to NASA.
Olá, Bhopal, hein? Que legal, tá passando imagens de alguns locais aí no mundo. Tá transmitindo aí. Opa, olha os indianos lá. Regional Science Center in Bhopal.
Yes. Great to wave to you. Hi, wonderful. And we're also
galera, cientistas indianos em Bhopal.
So we have the feed from Portland.
Bit dark. Oregon, Museu de Ciência de Oregon, Portland.
Okay, next we're going to go off to Milan, Italy. So afternoon in Italy. Do we have the feed from Italy?
Agora a imagem da Itália, hein? Itália.
Yes, we have a screen from Italy. And next, we're going to go to Rutland, Vermont. So is this Vermont? Hello, Vermont. Hi, everybody.
Vermont.
Nice to see you. Thank you for being
estado
part of
aí que eu nem
today.
conheço lá
Okay, going even a little bit
É igual ao
further
Brasil, tem
afield,
estado
we
que não
have
acaba mais,
Natalia,
né?
Israel.
27
Hello.
estados, e lá
Hello,
deve ser por aí
Israel.
também.
Yay.
Vermont.
Really nice to see you
Planetânia
guys.
Science Space Center, olha aí, ó.
Okay, just
Israel!
one more for
Galera de
now.
Israel!
I see
Abraço
people
aí!
like giving me hugs.
Amo Israel, ó.
Okay,
Manuscritos do
we
Mar
also have
Morto.
Vancouver, Canada.
Manuscritos do
Hey,
Mar Morto.
Vancouver. Hi. All right. Wonderful. Wonderful to have
Macmillan
all these
Space
people with
Center,
you.
Vancouver, British
So
Columbia,
right
no
across from the
Canadá.
campus
É
from me,
pouquinha
there's
gente
also a
lá,
huge
pouquinha
watch
gente
party
lá. Tô
taking place
respeitando aí o
with
Covid.
members of the Webb team. So the wonderful thing is that they actually are people that have worked on the mission and they are
A
part of our
câmera tá
NASA
meio
funding.
assim, eles estão meio
That's the family.
emocionados
So,
lá na NASA
hello,
também.
hello,
Estão
Webb
meio
team.
emocionados, a câmera tá balançando para lá e para cá. Vamos lá? People
There they
watching.
are. Yes. A lot of people I recognize there. So it's incredibly important to me personally, and also to all of us at NASA, that the universe belongs to everyone.
O universo
And we are
pertence
thrilled
a
to share
todo
this
mundo.
day with fans
Que frase
everywhere
linda,
around
hein?
the world. We'll
Muito
take a look at
importante
some more
isso.
later in our broadcast. So now it's time to start the main event. What
Agora
you'll see
é a
over
hora
the
de
next
começar o
hour will be a
evento.
collection of images newly processed by the Webb Science team. Only a tiny
Então, é
handful of
time de
experts have seen the
cientistas que já
images so far.
processou as
And I
imagens,
can
são
tell you
dados,
that
né,
we
que
have
eles
been so
processam as
excited to
imagens
wrap them
dos
for everyone. We'll be releasing each
espectroscópios lá
image in turn in
do
real time.
James Webb
As soon as you
Telescópio
see it on this
e
broadcast,
faz um
it will be available
processamento,
for
não é que
download on the
nem
internet.
dá uma
On the screen
photoshopada, né?
below, you can
Faz
see
um
a
processamento para
timeline
ter
showing
aquelas
where we are
coisinhas
in
que a
the
gente
show
viu a
and
imagem
what's
ontem,
coming
né?
up next.
Nós vimos
By
a
the end
imagem
of the
ontem, essa
show,
aqui que está
all
de
5
fundo aqui
images will be
da minha
available to
tela
everyone.
também.
So
Olha
hopefully
a
you can
imagem aqui, ó.
tell I'm
Mostrar a
excited.
imagem aqui um pouquinho.
Okay, so let's do this.
Deixa eu mostrar a imagem um pouquinho aqui. Ah, não, vamos, depois eu mostro a imagem. Deep Field. Agora é o trailer aí do de Greenbelt, Maryland. O trailer, então, olha a NASA aí aparecendo. O trailer da missão James Webb Telescope.
Okay, we're going to release the first image right here at NASA Goddard Space Flight Center, Maryland, and we're just outside of Washington, D.C. NASA Goddard is home to the project office of the Webb Telescope. And the observatory portion of the telescope, the mirrors and the science instruments, were integrated and tested.
Vamos lá, as primeiras imagens, hein?
So for many of us, including myself, okay, so Jane, you not only get the honor of revealing the first image, but
A
this actually
primeira
got a little bit of
imagem é a
a sneak
cientista
preview. I
Jane
understand there was a very
Rigby que vai
select
falar para
audience who's
nós
already
do
seen the
NASA
image.
Webb.
Yes, so
Fala aí, Jane,
last
tá
night,
emocionadinha
on
também.
behalf of the project, I had the privilege of traveling
É
to the
Michelle
White
que está nos
House
apresentando.
with the NASA Administrator Nelson and other senior staff to share our first image with President Biden.
Ah, a
and Vice
primeira
President
imagem está ali
Harris.
de fundinho, ali, ó.
And it
Olha o Bill
was
Nelson lá,
really
o
fun. Oh my
diretor da
gosh.
NASA.
Where they
Na
really
Casa
geeked out. We
Branca,
had
ó,
a closed door session where
os
we got to walk
políticos
through
aí
all
da
the
Casa
images
Branca
and
mostrando
just
a
share
primeira
the
imagem.
excitement. And they were so
Foi
thrilled, and
ontem
they
isso
got
aí,
the
hein?
profundity of what we're seeing. And so now we're gonna let's do it.
Okay, we've
Let's
got the
do
whole
it!
world
Vamos,
watching. Are you
agora
ready to
mostra
put the first
tintim
image
por
up?
tintim essa imagem para nós, Jane. Mostra para nós aí, Jane.
All right, here we go.
Ah!
Okay, so the first image is a deep field.
Que
And
lindo,
it's also a
Deep
deep
Field.
field with a cluster. So why don't we walk through this just a little bit? So if we come
Então
up and
vamos,
look at this
vou
image,
tirar uma
first of
foto
all,
aqui.
it's really gorgeous, and it's teeming with galaxies.
Cheia
And
de
that's
galáxias,
something that
hein?
has been true for every image we've gotten with Webb. We can't take blank sky. Everywhere we look, there's galaxies everywhere.
Todo lugar que a
And
gente
so
olha tem
with
galáxias, né?
this image, as we're looking at it, what we're seeing is not just all the galaxies, but there's a cluster here.
É cluster,
And
é
so the
cluster de
cluster are all these
galáxias.
white, kind of ethereal galaxies. We're seeing them as they look
Tirar umas
back
fotos
in
aqui
time.
para a
Right? The
posteridade.
speed of light is only so fast. And so as we're seeing distant galaxies out in space, we're seeing them as they looked billions
A
of years
velocidade
ago.
da luz é muito
So
grande.
these cluster
Então
galaxies,
ela
the
faz
white
essa,
ones,
tá
we're
vendo que elas
seeing as
ficam
they
meio
looked about the time
curvadinhas,
the
né?
sun and the earth formed. And then behind the cluster, we have
São
the
galáxias
cluster,
distantes no espaço. A gente está vendo
the
essa imagem de
gravity of the
4,6
cluster
bilhões
is
de anos atrás,
distorting
né?
and warping our view of what's behind. And so there
Ao
are these
mesmo tempo
galaxies
que
that look stretched and
a nossa
pulled,
Terra e o Sol
kind of
foram
like they've
formados,
been
4,6
magnified
bilhões de
because they've
anos.
been
O
magnified
cluster está
by the gravity of
distorcendo
the cluster,
mas
just
por
like
conta
Einstein said they would.
da
And
gravidade,
it's
né, das
really,
galáxias,
there's
né?
so much detail here. We're
Tem
seeing
muitos
these
detalhes, né?
galaxies in a way that
Do
we've
tempo da
never been able
formação
to
da
see before.
nossa
There's just
infância.
a
Oh,
sharpness
que
and a
lindo,
clarity
meu Deus
we've
do
never had.
céu!
And so we can look at, if we zoom in on this image, and I encourage you as you grab this image at home, like zoom in. You can
Que linda,
you know,
que linda, que
really
linda,
zoom
que
in and
linda.
play around. There are galaxies here in which you're seeing individual
Dá para dar um
clusters of
zoom, né, para ver
stars forming, popping
umas
up,
galáxias
just like
particulares
popcorn.
ali.
And then we also see in the background of this image, kind of littered like jewels all over the back of the image are these faint
Opa, eu quero tirar uma
red
foto aqui, eu quero tirar uma
galaxies.
foto aqui.
Now, that was what we built the telescope to do. The most distant of those are billions of years. We're seeing as they looked more than 13 billion years ago. And so
13
galaxies
bilhões de
that one
anos
right there,
atrás.
this little red guy.
13,
Like, okay,
depois eu conto esse problema
Well,
temporal, né,
Webb
de
got
4,6
spectra
bilhões ou
to figure
13,5
out what
bilhões.
those galaxies are made of. And this is that
É o
one.
início do
We're seeing
universo,
as it
né? O
looked,
início do universo, há 13,5 bilhões de
13.1
anos.
billion years in the past, less than a billion years after the Big Bang. And we're seeing the elements of oxygen and
Alguns
hydrogen,
elementos
as
de
well as
oxigênio e
neon. You know,
hidrogênio.
this is how the oxygen in our bodies
13,1
was
bilhões
made
de anos.
in stars, in galaxies, and we're seeing that process.
Menos de 1 bilhão de anos
I want to give this a little bit of context.
do Big Bang.
This is now the farthest away galaxy that we have this sort of detailed information about.
That we know what it's made
Como
of.
é que ela consegue esse detalhe de
And this was
informações? A
not a
Michelle
long
está perguntando para a
exposure for
Jane.
No, the previous record holder, right, the Hubble Extreme Deep Field, was 2 weeks of continuous work.
Olha lá, está falando que o Hubble levava semanas para
Webb,
tentar
juntar
juntar essas imagens, né? Levava semanas.
The
Agora está um pouco
amazing
mais
thing about
rápido
Webb
agora
is the
o
speed at
James
which we
Webb,
can
né?
churn out discoveries. So everything that you're going to see here in this
Duas semanas
broadcast
de imagem
a week.
contínua do
And
Hubble
we're
para
going to be
tentar
doing
formar uma
discoveries like
imagem
this
dessa,
every
né?
week.
Agora com o Webb é bem mais rápido.
So thank you so much for joining us. It's been an honor to be working with you. Congratulations on all your
Eu quero uma
hard work.
foto, eu quero mais uma foto.
It's so wonderful to see it pay off.
So thank you, and I'll see you later on today, I hope. So
Yes.
enjoy the day.
Thank you.
Right. So from distant galaxies, we now turn our eye to something a bit closer. It's a planet, but not one in our
Agora
solar system.
uma coisa mais perto,
Remember
o
that
planeta.
Earth and its
Das
sibling
galáxias
planets
distantes
aren't
para
the
um
only
planeta
show in
mais
the
perto,
universe.
hein? Vamos ver.
When scientists and engineers started developing JWST, the search for exoplanets wasn't even part of the plan.
São exoplanets, né?
Exploring
Os
exoplanets is now a
exoplanets
major component of the mission and the subject of our second big reveal of the
que
day.
tem condições
I'm going to
semelhantes
send it
à
now to our
Terra
friends
também.
Natalie Willette and Sarah Gallagher at the Canadian Space Agency in Montreal. So again, bonjour.
Bonjour, lá, o pessoal do Canadá agora, eles falam francês lá, né? Bonjour.
I guess we're having a little.
Tá mostrando ali o Quebec, de onde é o centro lá, né? A Space Agency. Ah, Agência Espacial do Canadá. Que linda aí, ó. As cientistas aí. Gente, só mulher, hein? Só mulher, hein?
Sorry for the brief pause there. We're now going over to Canada.
Meio congelou aqui a imagem. Não sei se é minha internet. Deixa eu ver se minha internet tá ok aqui. Pô, tem que mudar minha internet aqui.
Yep, we're ready. Yeah. Okay, I apologize. We're having some trouble with the signal from
Então
Canada.
alguns problemas não,
But
tá
luckily
tudo
for
ótimo,
us, we have
Michelle.
an exoplanet expert right here, just in case that happens.
Especialista
So this
em
is Nicole
exoplanets.
Colon, and she's an exoplanet scientist at NASA. And we're going to talk
Cientista
about
de
some amazing new
exoplanetas
results
da
from
NASA, né?
a very hot planet, I understand about 1,000 light years away.
That's right. The exoplanet is named WASP 96b, and it is this hot.
Tá falando sobre planeta lá agora.
Planet that it is about 1,000 light years away. So that's why today's release is so exciting because it teases what Webb is able to do for such a distance.
Eu escutei
So talk
sussurrinho
us through
aqui
what
na
this
transmissão.
discovery
Escutei
is and why this
sussurrinho,
is so significant.
indiscernible.
Well, this
sussurrinho
reveal
aqui
that
da NASA
you're
na
going to see is
transmissão.
going to show the first
Então, um planeta
spectrum
gasoso
of
ali.
an exoplanet as taken from the Webb telescope. And this is exciting because it covers infrared wavelengths of light that we have not had
Os
access
comprimentos de
to
onda infravermelho
before.
é a
So we've been
Nicole
able to use
Colon,
other
é a
telescopes to
cientista.
explore exoplanet atmospheres in the infrared, but not to this level of detail.
Primeira formação,
And this is
então, de um
just
exoplaneta
one
tirada aí
sliver
do telescópio.
of data that
Vai
Webb is
mostrar uma
providing
imagem aí
us
para nós. Quero
using
ver
the
essa
nearest
imagem.
instrument specifically.
And there's something about infrared that is actually particularly good for the spectrum. So in this case,
O
what we're doing is we're
infravermelho é
actually
muito
take the
importante
light
para
and break it up
conseguir
into a
fazer o
rainbow
espectro aí
and
da
look very, very
espectrografia. Olha lá, ó.
carefully at
Tá
how much
mostrando um
color
pouquinho aí
is
da
coming in
questão
each
tecnológica
part
aí
of the spectrum. So I
dos
believe we have that
experimentos.
image. If we can put that up.
Okay, yes, I believe we're
Ele
revealing the spectrum
decompõe
right
os
here.
comprimentos de onda da
So
luz,
we
né,
now
em
have our
infravermelho,
spectrum,
em
and
várias
this is
várias
exactly what
cores
you're
aqui,
seeing.
né?
As
Por
you
isso
just
tem que ter
described with spectroscopy, what we did was we observed a transit of an exoplanet We observed the planet as it passed in front of the star. Now, mind you, this is not a direct image. This is
Não
an
é uma
indirect
imagem
image.
direta,
So
é uma
we've seen
imagem
the effect
construída
of
por
what happens when the planet and its
espectroscopia, olha
atmosphere
só.
passes in front
Imagem
of the star.
construída
The
por
starlight
espectroscopia, não é
filters
uma
through
imagem
the
direta, não é
atmosphere,
uma imagem direta,
and
hein?
then you can break that down into wavelengths of light.
Você
And you get a
quebra
bunch of
os
what looks
comprimentos
like
de onda
bumps and
da
wiggles
luz,
to
a
some people,
starlight,
but
ó,
it's
você
actually
quebra eles
full
com uma
of information
espectrografia, vai
content.
montando
So
aí as
you're
imagens
actually seeing bumps and
como
wiggles
se fosse
that indicate the
quebra-cabeças, né?
presence of water vapor in the atmosphere of this exoplanet.
So we have the spectrum up here. Is there anything you'd like to
Parece
highlight
que tinha
particularly?
presença de água lá que ele estava
Absolutely.
falando alguma
So we
coisa
have
ali.
several features marked here. So I call them features. They're these what I
A
just
presença
referred
de
to as
água
bumps
nesse
and wiggles.
exoplaneta que é
But what you're seeing
indicativo
here
de
is the
vida, hein?
telltale signature, the chemical fingerprint of
A
water
água é a
vapor in
fonte
these
da vida.
atmospheres, in the atmosphere of this specific exoplanet. And
Tá
the
falando
other
pouco
thing
da
you can tell
atmosfera, a gente
actually
vê
is
que tem
that
water
there's
lá, o
evidence of
H2O lá,
clouds
ó,
and
bem,
hazes
bem
because
bastante
the water features
proeminente
are
ali
not
na,
quite
na,
as
na
large as we
espectrografia
predicted.
dos elementos lá
So
do
we can
planeta.
take that and infer that there are presence of
Vapor
clouds
de
and
água,
hazes.
né?
Right. Now, one thing that we really want to
Evidência
make
de
sure people
nuvens,
understand is with
evidência
this
de
particular
nuvens
planet,
também.
this is a hot world. It's actually
É um mundo
closer to its
quente,
star than Mercury is to
a
our sun.
temperatura é alta
And so
lá,
we're
né?
not looking at liquid water here. But
Não
we're
é água
looking instead
líquida, é
at
água
sort of steam,
já é
water vapor.
gasosa, né?
This
O
is an
planeta é muito
exoplanet.
quente,
It's
esse planeta.
about the size of Jupiter, about half the mass of Jupiter.
Mais ou menos o
It
tempo
orbits
e
around a sun-like
o
star, but it
tamanho
does
de
it every
Júpiter, a
about
massa de
3.5
Júpiter, né?
days.
E é um
So
mundo
it's
muito
extremely
quente.
hot, extremely close in, nothing
Júpiter
like our
também,
solar system
gasoso, né?
planets. But that's okay, because what we're seeing is, again, the first exoplanet data from Webb, and
O
this is just the
primeiro
beginning. We're going to start
exoplanet
pushing down the
da
further
NASA, hein?
smaller
São os dados
planets
aqui do primeiro
and being able to
exoplanet
take measurements just like
do
this
James
with
Webb
the NIRS
Telescópio.
instrument that was built by the Canadian Space Agency.
Eu vou ter que dar uma
But
saidinha daqui a
also, there's
pouquinho para
other
buscar uma
three
necessidade
other
na
science
escola,
instruments
mas
that will add to
já
our
volto,
knowledge
vou
in the
deixar a live
infrared,
rolando aí.
as well as direct imaging modes, along with the transit method. So there's a lot more to come.
I guess one thing we should mention is not only are we going to be looking at planets that are more like the Earth in the future, but we'll also be looking
Estou
at planets in
procurando
our
planetas
solar
que são
system.
mais parecidos
Absolutely,
com a
yes.
Terra.
We're going to have
né?
exciting data from
Esse é o
planets in our
objetivo
solar system,
da
from
busca aí
Mars
dos exoplanetas.
outward, as
Planetas
well as
tenham
asteroids and comets.
mais ou menos a
So
temperatura
stay tuned
parecida com
for
a
a
da Terra
lot more
para
to
ver
come.
as condições
Thank you
de
so much,
vida
Nicole.
também, né?
Thank you so much for telling us about the
Obrigado, muito,
spectrum, and I'll be seeing
bem-vinda
you
aí,
later on today.
Nicole, a cientista de exoplaneta da
So
NASA.
we have three more
Parabéns
big
aí, ó.
imagery
Só mulher,
reveals,
hein?
and
Só
with that
mulher.
new and more exciting science. But
Tem,
first, let's
tem
take
mais-
a
tem
look
mais
back at the
coisa, hein,
journey
Michele?
that
Tem mais
brought us to
coisa.
this moment. Celebrations like
Ó,
this one are
foi
only
o Deep
possible
Field,
with
a gente
years
viu
of hard
o
work from the
exoplanet,
past
agora é a
thousands.
terceira imagem.
When a
Vamos ver
new
qual
mission
é.
is being built, even the most enthusiastic space fans only get to see dramatic moments in its life cycle, the news and images that come out in updates and
Aí,
press
ó, é o
releases.
James Webb,
But
né?
that doesn't really give
Mostrando
you the
ele aí,
sense of the
a
huge effort that
fabricação
goes
dele
on
aí, ó.
behind the scenes every day. The plans, schedules, and organization to keep everything moving forward really happens, for the most part, out of people's gaze. Webb started as an idea that took root at NASA Goddard. It grew first into planning teams, research projects, schematics, requirements. Then it began the long journey to become real with the development of new technologies, cutting-edge engineering.
Bom,
And finally,
5 anos de projeto aí
putting it all
do Webb
together.
Telescópio, né?
Let's take a brief look back at the
Até
visionary
lançar
journey
em
to how we all
25
got here today.
de dezembro de
So
2021.
today was the
Vamos ver um pedacinho aí do projeto
final
dele, né?
closeout of the purge.
Okay, guys, I can hear Rupa,
It's
but
a pretty emotional moment to be in there.
Momento
actually,
emocionante, ó, tá tipo
you know,
cortando
closing it up for the very last time,
o
right? You
cordão
know, you're the
umbilical
last
lá
people to touch
do
this.
telescópio.
So
Momento
that was the final
importante aí, né?
operation, and once that
Olha lá, fechando ali
fitting
a
goes
base
down,
dele, ó.
there's no more touching of the vehicle. We're ready for launch.
Ready for lunch. Ready for lunch. Ready for lunch. Countdown. Olha lá o bichinho no espaço. Coisa linda, coisa linda. Puxa, eu quero tirar uma fotinha aqui, hein?
The James Webb Space
James Webb
Telescope,
Telescope. Space
born
Telescope.
from the desires of astronomers,
Nascido aí de
achieved with
desejos
newly
de astrônomos,
invented
cientistas,
technology,
muita tecnologia.
is the culmination of 20 years of work.
Combinação de 20 anos de trabalho. Tá lá, hein?
Humanity has unlimited questions about our universe.
A humanidade tem
Engineering
muitas
a way
questões sobre o
to
universo.
investigate them
E como
requires
investigar?
enormous creativity.
Webb has been a trade-off between engineering performance, what
O
the
Webb foi
astronomers want, risk.
acordo de
In fact, when we
engenharia e
started 20 years
tecnologia
ago, we were actually
com
looking at an 8-meter
os
telescope.
requerimentos lá.
Developing the most sensitive instruments
Os mais sensíveis
testing.
instrumentos aí.
and more testing.
E muito teste, né? Eu quero tirar uma foto aqui. Depois eu volto com a imagem maior.
And so you don't want to build one that's just incrementally better than what you've got. Because if that's the case, you would just observe longer on the telescope that you already got.
Aí, uma
So
fotinha
every time
com...
NASA builds a new astrophysics mission, a new telescope, it needs to be way more sensitive, way more capable than anything we've ever built before.
Tem que ser muito, os equipamentos muito detalhados, né, sensíveis, os espectrometros, as câmeras de infravermelho, tudo ali bem meticuloso, né? 20 anos de trabalho para chegar nesse ponto, hein? É a maior resolução já conseguida, tirada do espaço de todo o tempo. Tá aí, ó,
If you're just joining us, I'm Michelle Thaler at NASA's Goddard Space Flight Center.
Michelle
and we are
Thaler
watching
é
live
astrônoma da
coverage
NASA,
of the
está
release of the
conduzindo aí
first science
esse
images
momento aí para
from the
nós.
James Webb Space Telescope. So it's appropriate now that I send the broadcast to our colleagues and friends at the Space Telescope Science Institute in Baltimore. That's the
Baltimore.
scientific nerd
Já é
center of
o
the
Centro
entire
Espacial
Webb
de
mission.
Baltimore agora,
So
que vai
hello,
falar
good morning,
pouquinho.
Alex. The show is yours.
Alex, Estudar, Morte da Estrela,
Welcome to the Space Telescope
Maryland.
Institute. I'm Alex Lockwood, and I'm here.
Beleza, mais uma mulher, Alex,
Who is an
e o
astronomer
colega ali também.
and one of the key people in delivering the images that you're going to see here today.
Vamos lá, vamos lá.
But actually, before we get into the amazing images, we're going to talk a little bit about where we are. We're standing here outside of the Mission Operations Center, which is the key central hub
O
for
central de operações, a
For the past
chave, lá, a
6
chave
months,
do James
scientists
Webb.
and engineers have been working 24/7 since they took control of the
24
telescope
horas de
30
trabalho
minutes
lá
after
direto, aí
launch
no centro de
to prepare
operações, lá
for
em Maryland.
today and for the amazing science to come. Through all
Olha
of the
lá,
major
olha as
deployments,
telinhas, olha o Project
focusing,
Manager
aligning
ali,
the
ó.
telescope,
Ó, você
and
tudo
calibrating
novinha,
the four
galera,
amazing
galera tudo
science
novinha.
instruments. It was all done in this building.
Uns
And from
nerdinhos,
here on
né?
out, we'll have daily communications with the telescope, including sending
Então, a
commands
comunicação
and
diária com o
downloading
telescópio,
data with the
pegando os
help of
dados,
the
olha
Deep
lá.
Space Network. In addition to mission operations, we are also the home of science operations. Well, what does that mean?
Alex Lockwood,
Every year,
a
we solicit
cientista
proposals from astronomers
líder do
across the
projeto aí
country
do James Webb.
and the world for what they would like to look at with Webb.
Queremos.
Then we hold a rigorous selection process to
É
select
um
the
processo de
ideas that
seleção
will best
rigorosa das
utilize
imagens
Webb
para ver
to
o que
study
ia
and understand
compartilhar
our
com o mundo, né?
universe.
O que ia compartilhar com
When the
nós.
data come down and astronomers analyze their results, we are the lucky ones who get to share that
Nós
data,
somos
those amazing
os
science
sortudos
results with you.
a ver isso agora, né?
And
Vamos
we
lá.
knew that today was going to be so exciting with the first images.
Com
So we've
certeza, as
actually been
primeiras
preparing
imagens.
for years. Here is Klaus Pontoppidan, project scientist for Webb and the technical lead for the first images,
it's been a years
to tell
long
you
process.
about the process of the
Vamos lá.
past
I
few
look back
years
and
of
my first
selecting the
email
target.
Chamou um colega aí para
to
contar para nós como é que foi
the first images was back from
projeto também,
2016.
as primeiras imagens. Klaus
So back then,
Pontoppidan, ó o nome, hein?
a committee
É um
was
cientista lá
created,
do
and this
líder do
committee
projeto também,
was
Klaus
charged
Pontoppidan.
with coming up with a long list of targets for the first images.
Desde 2016,
The
ó,
reason
os
for that is
projetos aí,
that
ó.
the observatory can't see the entire sky at any given time. And this is because you want to avoid the mirror seeing direct sunlight to keep it cold. And it actually had to be quite a long list.
Tem que ver um pouquinho as interferências da luz solar nos espelhos
from which we had
de
to
visão
select
lá
only a
dos
handful.
telescópios, né?
You know, what
A
would create
trajetória
the
tem que
most
ser um
beautiful
pouco mais
images, what would
fugir do
highlight the
sol para conseguir
instruments, for
transmitir as
different four
imagens para
science
cá, né?
instruments for Webb, and what would
Então,
highlight the
70
four
alvos, né, que eles
major
estavam
science
selecionando.
themes for Webb.
A
And it's
primeira imagem lá atrás
celebration
dele, que
as
coisa
well
linda.
of the beginning of science observations.
And we knew that selecting the images was just the beginning.
Ó,
We would need
selecionar as
trained
imagens é o
eye
começo, hein?
to take these exquisite data and pull out the beauty and the science potential.
Agora que vai começar a
So
brincadeira
here's Dodi
científica, né?
Pasquale and Elisa Pagan
Agora que vai
to tell you
começar.
about how they process these beautiful
Como
images.
eles processam as imagens? Vamos ver como que é o processamento de imagens. A photoshopada, né? Aí, ó. Pega as imagens, olha lá, ó.
We're basically translating light that we can't see into light we can see.
Tem que fazer uma tradução da imagem. Joe da Pasquale, fazendo uma tradução da imagem da luz. É o
And the reason we want to
faz
color the
essa-
images is
esse
because there's
Photoshop da
actually
imagem pra
more that you can get,
trazer
more
linda pra
information
nós, né?
that you can get from the image if you see it in color.
So it's a matter of picking and choosing filters and colors.
Tem que
that
escolher
enhance the
filtros e
details
cores
and the
adequados
structure in
para
the images.
selecionar os comprimentos de onda. Olha lá, ó.
The shortest
Aplicando
wavelengths
uma
of
cor
infrared light and
verde, ó,
assign those
de
blue
onda
colors,
verde,
and then
ó, a
move our way
branquinha,
down to green and red as we go to longer and longer
vermelha.
wavelengths.
And then we additively combine those together to get our full color image.
E aí combina todas elas para dar uma imagem
But there is a lot of
totalmente a
aesthetics that
cores,
are
né?
involved in
Quando
this.
combinam
Painstakingly
os
going
vários
through and
comprimentos
cleaning
de
these
onda
images up.
da luz. como nós enxergamos
attention to
aqui, né?
detail, a level of detail like at the pixel level.
Então, o nível de detalhes é assombroso lá. Cada pixelzinho ali é enorme.
Data, it is this
Tem
sort of
muita
marriage
edição,
between
a
art
Karina
and
está dizendo,
science.
né?
When you're choosing colors for the filters,
escolher
you
cores,
really
escolher
are trying
filtros,
to
olha lá.
show the different
A imagem, ela
details
tem imagem,
and
ela
the
chama de raw
processes that are
material,
happening in
né? É a
astronomical
imagem
images.
bruta.
But
Aí
at
com a
the
imagem
end of the
bruta,
day, you want it to be
aplica
very
todos esses
compelling. You want it to be
filtros
very beautiful,
para
because
deixar a
space is
imagem
beautiful.
mais limpa, vamos dizer assim, olha lá. Ela já está limpando a imagem, ó. É com um programa de edição de imagem, né? O nosso conhecido Photoshop, né, comercial. Esse é o Photoshop da NASA.
A select few of us, very lucky few of us, who got to see the first images.
Ah, muitos aqui, alguns que viram as primeiras imagens, os sortudos, quem foram? Essa galerinha aí, ó, viram as primeiras imagens.
So we have a team of about 30 people who are producing these images.
There's
and
13
we feel
pessoas que produziram e
incredibly
editaram as imagens.
privileged
Esse
to
time
be
aí.
the ones who were the first to see these science-like images.
Cara, que show de bola.
When we saw the first data come down of real targets,
Quando você vê o primeiro dado de imagem vindo
people were
embaixo,
speechless
é
and they were
impressionante,
emotionless,
né?
because immediately we could see how amazing this observatory.
Imediatamente a gente podia ver como é extraordinário a galáxia.
And when we saw the first color images,
quando vimos as primeiras imagens coloridas. Galera.
And now we are ready to see Webb's first image of a star dying, a planetary nebula called the Southern Ring.
Uma estrela morrendo. Que linda demais da conta.
Wow. This near infrared image.
Estrela morrendo.
Wow, the detail.
Uau. É uau mesmo. Uma estrela morrendo, a dying star. Meu Deus, coisa linda, coisa linda.
Well, here we are. We have a near infrared image on our left.
Uma outra imagem infravermelha.
And here on the right, we have a near infrared image. And so I'm here with Carl, our astronomer specialist. Can you tell us what we're looking at in these
O astrônomo Carl vai dizer
So
pouquinho o que nós estamos vendo aí.
Caused by a dying star that has expelled a large fraction of its mass over in
Uma
successive
estrela
waves.
morrendo que solta grande parte de massa dela, né? E aí começa a soltar, sair do campo gravitacional.
And so there's a lot of structure. Can you tell us a little more detail about what we're looking? Maybe start with this one on the left.
Yeah. So in the near cam image, you see this kind of bubbly, almost foamy appearance throughout the whole nebula with some very structured shells. But
coisa
the
linda.
foaminess is showing up in orange mainly. And this is
Fica
due to
fica meio
the
laranja
molecular
aí o
hydrogen that's
entorno
newly
dela.
formed in the expansion, just lighting up the gas and dust of this nebula.
Então a nebula vai soltando os gases, ó. Ela está morrendo, então está soltando massa e os gases ficam soltando. Muito hidrogênio expandindo
that's
aqui,
heated
né?
by the core, the leftover very hot core of this star.
And what about these like rays that I'm seeing in this image?
Right there. So there's also rays in the outer regions that you can kind of see, and these are holes in the inner nebula that are actually allowing
Tem alguns
the
raios que vão
central
saindo
star's
também da
light
nebula.
to come out and kind of light it up like patchy clouds with the sun shining through.
Wow. Oh, yeah. That's
Coisa
what it looks like.
linda.
That's so cool.
Eu estou tirando umas fotos aqui também. Tem
So
alguns
you're
raios que
actually
saem aí
a
da
mid-infrared
nebula.
astronomer, which is different than near-infrared. And so what can you tell us about the details in this mid-infrared image?
Agora
So
tem uma infravermelho médio.
Partly because we're seeing different kinds of physics going on here. So we're actually seeing in the blue, you see a lot of blue. The blue is actually due to hydrocarbon grains that are emitting very
Tem
strong
muito azul,
for Muri.
que
And they show
são
the very
grãos de
similar structures to what we see
hidrocarbono.
in orange and NIRCam because the hydrocarbon, the
Hydrocarbon
actually forms on the surface of dust grains. And so again, as we move inward, we see that the inner region is again hot ionized gas, but now it glows red because that's where it emits the strongest.
Então tem pouco de
And then
vermelho
as
e
we go into the
azul aqui
center,
na
we see
imagem, né?
kind of the surprise for us, which is we knew this was a binary star, but we
estrela binária.
didn't really see much of the actual star that produced the nebula. But now in Muri, this star glows red because it has dust around it. So in Muri, we got to
Tem
see
muita
both stars
poeira ali
very clear.
à volta dela e ela fica meio vermelha, que ele diz aí da nebulosa, né?
So that's a fun surprise. And I think that there's another little Easter egg.
Tem outro easter egg aí, hein? Solta outro
so
easter egg aí
this
para nós.
the Easter egg is this kind of narrow filament up in the top that's radially aligned. You can kind of see it very clearly in the Muri image. It shows up as this blue structure, and it points very much to the central sources. So I thought oh, this must just be a density enhancement in the outer nebula.
Não captei o que ele está dizendo ali, não, esse easter egg aí.
We're like, no, it's a background edge on galaxy. Well, I made a bet that said, no, it's part of the nebula. By the way, I lost the bet because then we looked more carefully at both the NIRCam and mirror images, and it's very clearly an edge on galaxy with a dust lane and a bulge. So I lost the bet.
Well, you lost the bet, but you got these gorgeous images. So
ele perdeu uma aposta ali, não entendi muito o que ele falou ali, do que ele estava achando uma outra galáxia dentro ali, por trás ali da estrela morrendo ali.
All right. Thanks so much. Back to you, Michelle.
Thanks so much, my God. Yeah. Agora para onde
Thank you, Alex and Carl. And I have to say that image is absolutely spectacular. So as you know, people from all over the world are watching us today and joining in our excitement as we release Webb's first science images. We've been checking in with our colleagues in Europe and Canada throughout the program, but we also want to take a moment to include the people at the so many viewing parties scattered around the world like stars in the night sky. So let's check in with some of them now. First, we go all the way to Perth, Australia.
Vai mostrar pouquinho das imagens ao redor do mundo, a galera assistindo aí as imagens do James Webb Telescópio ao redor do mundo. Austrália, agora é Austrália.
Maybe we have some of our other feeds. We're going to check in with them right now.
Vamos chegar lá para galera da Austrália, parabéns aí, University of Western Australia.
There's Perth. Hey,
in Perth.
Waving to Perth, Australia. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
And next we're going to Winnipeg, Canada.
Winnipeg, lá no Canadá. O Canadá que é dos líderes aí da frente desse projeto, né?
Okay, Dayton, Ohio. Everybody's watching on the
Beaufort Museum of Discovery, Dayton, Ohio.
Nice to have
lá em Ohio agora, Boomshot Museum. Tá meio escuro ali o museu.
Hey,
a galera tá animadinha lá.
They're jumping up and down. Hi. Okay,
criançada aí, a coisa linda.
India, Bangalore.
Criançada não, são mulheres.
Hello to Bangalore, India. Hey.
Jovens.
It's absolutely wonderful.
Hey. Chiguru Collab, Bangalore, India.
Okay.
Criançada, é uma escola.
I hope you enjoy the rest of the images we're releasing. Okay, of course, NASA's family extends all over the country. The team at JPL in Pasadena, California, they're on site to celebrate with us.
NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratório aí, ó, Pasadena, Califórnia, que muito importante aí,
ó. I think the last place we're going to right now is Northrop Grumman, one of our major contractors. Hello, Northrop Grumman.
Oh, hey, a galera tá animada, Northrop Grumman. Redondo Beach, Califórnia também.
Nice to see you, Northrop Grumman. All right, now there's also a big watch party right here on the NASA Goddard campus. Many of these people have worked on the mission itself. We also have top NASA leadership and representatives from our government. So hello.
Hello, NASA Goddard. NASA Goddard, Maryland. NASA Goddard, Maryland. Tô seguindo esse perfil aí, NASA Goddard. Experiências maravilhosas aí em Maryland, Estados Unidos. Show de bola. Diga aí, Michelle, o que vai ter aí que eu tenho que buscar Maria Cecília na escola?
A major partner in the Webb mission is the European Space Agency.
Agora a Agência Espacial Europeia, hein? A Agência Espacial Europeia respondeu um post meu aqui no Instagram, meu Deus do céu. Quando eu vou colocar lá, a Agência Espacial Europeia respondeu um post meu no Instagram, meu Deus do céu. Ó o coração, ó o coração, ó o coração.
Hello, Katie.
Deus abençoe a Agência Espacial Europeia. Diga aí, conta pra nós aí, ó. Galaxy. Darmstadt, Alemanha.
Thank you, Michelle, and welcome to Germany. We're at the
Bem-vindos à Alemanha.
I'm still getting all kinds of ISB from lots of
center. It's where the teams effectively fly the satellites a little bit
across
between air traffic controllers
vai falar
and pilots. We have lots of different control rooms here. This is the main control room, and as you can see today, it's not in use.
Sala de controle aí da Alemanha, da ESA, da Estação Espacial Europeia, sala de controle na Alemanha, meus amados, coisa linda. A ESA respondeu um post meu no Instagram e respondeu pra mim diretamente, Deus do céu, ESA.
Giordino is
coração pra vocês.
Giovanna has been working on that for many years and lots to tell us about that. And Mark McCaughrean is a special
advisor com sotaque meio alemão aí, a gente não consegue entender direito aí.
These two guys have been working on the Webb Space Telescope for a long time, so we're very grateful to have you with us. Thanks, folks. We are excited to reveal our image with you. But before we do that,
antes de revelar a imagem, a Giovanna e o Mark, o que elas vão fazer aí? Agradecer a equipe toda,
these guys were
coisa
the first
linda.
ones to pick up the signal during the Webb launch, when Webb first launched. they run a system called S-Track, which is NASA's deep space tracking system.
S-Track. É que nem a gente faz o tracking do correio, dos correios, para receber as encomendas que a gente compra na internet. Ele faz o sistema de rastreio aí, ó, o tracking. O sistema de rastreio do tracking depois do lançamento. Ó, parabéns aí. Para ver o Deep Space James Webb.
ESA has played a very, very important role during the
very important role.
Quem que é? Telescope. They provided the launch on board the awesome Ariane 5 launch vehicle from the Guiana
launch
Space
vehicle, Ariane 5. O veículo de lançamento, né?
Electric.
25 de dezembro foi lançado.
People, we have 15 ESA scientists working at Space Telescope in Baltimore, and also they have provided the infrared spectrograph.
Tem um colega aqui já de Fortaleza aqui participando aqui também. Seja bem-vindo, parceiro.
Which is the mid-infrared instrument. Let's take a look at
Comandante Hamilton, aqui na audiência, amigos desde Fortaleza, Ceará. Um abraço, Fortaleza, Ceará, tá junto aí assistindo o nosso momento histórico da humanidade. As primeiras imagens das primeiras galáxias da infância do nosso mundo, do nosso universo. Um abraço aí, Madhus Jarvis, direto aí o comandante Hamilton, Fortaleza, Ceará. Tá falando um pouco da espectrografia aí, ó. É como um código de barras, né, que vai dividindo a luz, dividindo os comprimentos de luz ali, né? Como um código de barras. Ah lá, isso aí já lá no James Webb é onde fica ali os equipamentos ali dentro do telescópio, né? Que faz essa tradução da imagem, né?
MIRI has been developed by a partnership between Europe and the US.
Então, uma parceria da Europa com os Estados Unidos, módulo de controle, olha o módulo de controle, uma câmera aí infravermelha, aí, ó, as câmeras infravermelhas, olha que lindinha. Ela é cheia dos vai-vem da luz ali, ó, cheia dos espelhos internos ali dentro dela, da câmera infravermelha. Ver o universo como nunca visto antes. Um pouquinho aí das câmeras infravermelhas da espectrografia que tem dentro ali do telescópio. Né? Agora vamos ver as imagens aí da Agência Espacial Europeia.
To find out about galaxies, more about the galaxies, but also to help us to understand how they change. And this image is going to be very, very useful for that. Let's reveal it now.
Vamos lá. Oh, coisa linda, coisa linda. Eu vou tirar uma foto, dá licença
Stefan's Quintet. And it's wondrous. Giovanna, what are we looking at?
O que nós estamos vendo aí?
It's a quintet, so we are looking at 5 galaxies.
5 galáxias.
Are this giant structure that we see everywhere around us in the universe. They contain from million to 100 billions of stars, and in fact we live in one of them.
100 bilhões de estrelas.
And here we see 5 of them.
Galáxias.
This is a
cada uma com 100 bilhões de estrelas
galaxy in the foreground, and these 4 are at a distance of about 300 million light years from us, and are
300 milhões de anos
close
de
interaction.
distância.
A sort of cosmic dance driven by the gravitational force.
Das forças gravitacionais.
You can see here these two in a process of merging within each other. This is a very important image, an area to study, because it really shows the type of interaction that drives the evolution of galaxies. That's the mechanism of galaxies' growth.
I love this image.
O mecanismo de funcionamento do crescimento das galáxias. Ou se elas se juntam ou se expandem, né?
There is. So this is a near-infrared image and a mid-infrared image combined. And when we zoom in on the left-hand side here, we see this foreground galaxy. You see lots of individual stars in there, actually resolved as point sources, which is remarkable. Then as we pan across, we actually see the galaxies in the merging galaxies. We now see gas and dust, which is
então tem muito gás e poeira cósmica ali do lado.
And that's a place where new stars are being born today. So we're actually seeing the process of creation of new stars in this region.
Isso aqui é uma criação de uma nova estrela aí, ó.
We see not only the galaxies at 300 million light years, but also stars in our own galaxy. These snowflake structures that you see here, those are nearby stars, but in the
são estrelas mais perto, essas brilhantes aqui, tá vendo? São mais perto da nossa galáxia aqui, são as estrelas mais brilhantes.
So similar in some sense to the ones that we saw earlier on in that deep field.
And so this image actually takes us from the nearby
galaxy, our own Milky Way, through these galaxies which are evolving today all the way to the distant universe. And in a way, it captures cosmic evolution of galaxies.
A evolução cósmica das galáxias, coisa linda, coisa linda, coisa linda.
So we have another image, don't we, that we can
exactly.
Look at.
So if we strip away the near-infrared view there of the stars predominantly, now in the mid-infrared with MIRI alone, we see mostly gas and dust.
O infravermelho, a visão, o material bruto agora.
Merging, and then we also see something very interesting
Também
at the
vemos
top here,
coisas
because this
interessantes
top
ali, vamos
galaxy
ver.
has something new and bright in the middle of it. And Giovanna, tell us what that is.
Tirando pouquinho do
That's an
infravermelho.
active black hole.
Buraco negro, hein?
The black hole
Buraco negro
itself,
ativo ali bem no
but we
meio.
see the material swirling around, being swallowed by
Sotaque alemão bonitinho, né?
cosmic monsters, and this gas gets heated to extremely high temperature as it falls onto
Alta
the black
temperatura
hole,
dos gases
and it becomes very bright.
cai no
In fact,
buraco
this is
negro aqui.
outshines the galaxy. Here we see
Bem no centro aqui,
luminosity
talvez.
that are 40 billion times the luminosity of our suns. Is really, really bright.
14 bilhões
And with NIRSPEC, we
de
can
luminosidade
zoom
maior do que o Sol. 14
into
bilhões
this
de
area,
sóis. Que coisa
and we
linda,
have this
hein?
technology that allows us to take thousands of image at different wavelength channels.
Então são como eles selecionam, fatiam os comprimentos de onda da imagem para montar ali, para fazer o Photoshop aí da NASA, né? E da ESA, né?
Of this core area, and understand the composition of the gas, the
entender a composição dos
velocities,
gases,
the temperature.
a
So that's
temperatura.
very important to understand the physics.
So it's giving us so much information. It just shows the power of this telescope.
Essas imagens foram muito lindas mesmo, hein?
I think that's a very important takeaway from today. You know, these are like pictures just taken over a period of 5 days, and every 5 days we're getting more data, which will contribute.
A cada
more
5 dias eles vão
direction.
renovando as
It's a
imagens,
combination of
recebendo novas
decades of
imagens
work,
do
but it's
James
just the
Webb,
beginning
que já
of
está
decades.
quase
And
todo
you know what we've
operativo
seen
dos
today with
15
these
módulos
images is
dos
essentially that
instrumentos
we're
do
ready
James
now.
Webb.
This telescope is
Dos
working
17, 15
fantastically
estão
well.
funcionando,
And
faltam
you
só
know,
2 para ficar
to borrow a
totalmente
phrase from the
operacional.
famous rock
Então está
musician,
recebendo
you know,
imagens a cada
we're ready
5
to turn
dias
this
lá, a
telescope
galera
up to
aí da
11.
ESA.
It really is time. It's fantastic.
Thank you very much
Fantastic.
indeed, both of you. Back to you, Michelle.
Back to you, Michelle. A Esa, então. Beijo, Esa. Respondeu uma mensagem aqui para mim. Me respondeu aqui no Instagram. Sua Esa, sua
Thanks,
linda.
Katie. It is so great
Te
to have
amo.
you and your colleagues with us on this historic day. So before we get to the fifth and final image reveal of the day,
A
it
última
cannot be said
imagem.
enough that an
Quinta e
achievement
última
like the
imagem.
James Webb Space Telescope is something bigger than any one of us. It's bigger than any organization, any country.
O telescópio é maior do que qualquer empreendimento humano, qualquer organização.
And starting today, the
Ó, a
discoveries
equipe, a
start
equipe.
and they're not going to stop. This is just the beginning.
É só o
We've
começo.
said
É
several
só o
times throughout the
começo. Não vamos
broadcast that the
parar.
Webb
Isso aí,
mission is about
Michelle.
people. And during the construction of the Great Telescope, people started to see
A
themselves in it,
construção aí do
literally.
telescópio.
Day after day, people visited the observation window at NASA Goddard. And looking through the glass, they snapped selfies of themselves reflected in the gigantic golden mirror.
O James Webb ele
These
tira
photos
selfie
are
também de si
actual
mesmo. hein?
reflections of the enormous human investment and the emotional commitment that brought this mission to life. And now, years later, that mission is finally collecting light from the earliest days of the universe.
Estamos coletando
all the way
a
to
luz
our
aí
own
do
solar
espaço
system.
profundo.
It's the same
Isso aí
mirror that reflected the many faces who see
o
themselves as
finalzinho aí
part of the
da
journey to
preparação
understand
dele
our
para ir para o
shared
espaço, né?
origins. Let's stop for a moment and appreciate the people behind Webb.
Vamos apreciar as pessoas atrás do James Webb Telescópio. Ah, que coisa linda, em homenagem da NASA às
Okay,
às
it's
pessoas
time
que
now for the
constroem
last
isso.
image to be revealed. Here we go.
Here we go. Starboard, up next, ok. Last image. Em Maryland, a galera aí construindo o James Webb Telescópio, hein? Galera lá da NASA em Maryland, Estados Unidos da América.
So Amber Strawn is Webb's deputy project scientist. She's here with me today to share the final big reveal of the day. So Amber, it is so good to see you. How are you feeling?
So great, so exciting. What a great day.
Tá. A Amber tá
So one of the things that we're
toda
gonna do
excitada
is before we
ali,
get to the
toda
final
alegre.
image, the James Webb Space Telescope has
Strawn.
taken us all over the universe
Amber
today.
Strawn.
So let's do a quick review of where we've been
Quick
so far.
review do que nós vamos ver
So
aí.
Jane Rigby got us rolling today with an extraordinary new deep field image, showing us one of the farthest views of the universe ever.
A quinta imagem
This image
do
really
James
does
Webb,
demonstrate
vamos ver
that
então.
JWST can do exactly what we've designed it to do.
Yes. And the Canadian Space Agency then took us to the massive planet WASP 96b, where the team has detected evidence of atmospheric water.
Então, um outro exoplaneta com evidências de atmosfera com água. Ó, coisa linda aí, hein?
And then we zipped up the road from NASA Goddard to the Space Telescope Science Institute, where Alex and Carl showed us the exquisite Southern Ring Nebula.
Vamos lá, pessoal do Canadá agora, hein?
Stellar matter around a pair of dying stars.
Yeah, and I'm just blown away by the level of detail we can see, like in the outer part of this nebula. It's incredible.
Okay. After that, it was off to Germany, where
a composição da atmosfera, então.
Pictures of galaxies interacting and mixing together.
Right, and this image, again, it's incredible because it's showing us one of these fundamental processes of the universe, how galaxies merge together.
Como as galáxias são formadas, são juntadas, né? O processo de evolução das galáxias.
So the web team has a lot to cheer about right now. So across the campus, there's this big watch party, and we can feel the excitement all the way from over here. So let's join that celebration now. We're back with Senior Project Scientist John Mather, along with the head of NASA's Science Mission Director, Thomas Zurbuchen. Hello!
Última imagem do James Webb, vamos lá. Agora tem uma questão política aí também, os diretores da NASA vão falar um pouco aí. Discurso! John Mather, Senior Scientist e Senior Manager Thomas. O John e o Thomas Zurbuchen. Cara, ó, aplaudidos, ó.
So, John, we looked around the world and we're the only ones with a cheerleading crew right over there. That's amazing. Look, you've been with this mission for decades. How do you
Trabalha
feel
décadas na missão ali, o Thomas.
So relieved. This was so hard, and it took so long. It's just impossible to convey how hard it really was.
Foi muito difícil chegar até aqui. O John que tá ali com ele
so
também.
Near impossible, but we did it.
Muito impossível chegar até aqui, mas conseguimos aí com décadas de trabalho aí.
Many of them, we worried about and frankly feared even after launch. I have to tell you, I was really, really nervous. And, it's almost like athletics for me. You always get to know the team when they're on the field.
É como um esporte, né? Você tem que conhecer o time, saber como chegar na excelência.
And I really wasn't worried, but maybe I should
fez uma comparação com o esporte, né?
Yeah, that's difference between the two of us. I'm always worried. I always tell everybody I'm paid to worry, frankly, and that's good. What we want to do, though, is just really thank the team again. Of course, we heard Bill and Scott and Greg talking about the team that is there. I think what's also important is to recognize that Ernie is sitting there. It was the first
Tá falando um pouquinho de algumas pessoas importantes lá do Ernie, ele atrás. Tá parabenizando algumas pessoas importantes para o projeto aí. Legal isso. Legal.
And I want to mention that Phil Sablehouse, who is a manager also during that time, is no longer with us, but his heart is with us today. Yeah.
Parabenizou mais outro ali. Isso, o reconhecimento da equipe, isso é muito importante.
I have to tell you, John, after each one of these milestones, I called a lot of people. I called Bernie, for example, and I called people at my job and people who are administrators, because there's many of them. And I just wonder how you feel about the team. Just give you the word.
Como você sente, John, sobre a equipe, sobre o time, né?
Assemble such a brilliant team. We drew from the best
time brilhante, fizemos aí o melhor do melhor.
So my extreme deep thanks go to all the people who built that
meus
team.
Pensamentos todos vão para todas as pessoas que construíram esse projeto aí.
Helped us build up all the technology. To Phil, who made sure we would have a plan. And then when we didn't have quite enough money to build, who pulled it all together and made it all the way to the end. I am so thrilled that we had so much talent to draw on. And here we have the support of the country and the world to take on this immense challenge. You know what I'm most excited about? There's tens of thousands of scientists, and frankly, some of them just got born or not even born, who are benefiting from this amazing telescope, because it will be with us for decades.
It will be. Lembrando aí do Hubble também, que
25 years to get here since 1995, and we have at least 25 to go, I hope. So look, we are in a sense of these images, the art that is out there in the sky.
Queremos a imagem,
we're thinking of the team and we're thanking them. John, thanks to you, thanks to all of you.
Thanks
all of you. To Michelle.
Obrigado, abraço. Back to Michelle. Vamos lá, Michelle. Passa para nós a última imagem agora.
Thank you so much, Thomas. This entire collection continues to just absolutely astound me. Okay, Amber. So here it is.
Here it is, Amber. Com você, minha linda.
Image reveal.
Absolutely.
Tá animadinho ali. Here we go. Meu Deus do céu, coisa linda de Deus.
Wow.
Wow.
So, Amber, can you tell us a bit about what we're seeing here?
O que nós estamos vendo aqui, Amber? Conta para nós.
This stunning vista of the cosmic cliffs of the Karina Nebula reveals new details about this vast stellar nursery. Today, for the first time, we're seeing brand new stars that were previously completely hidden from our view.
There's something you want to point out here?
Absolutely. So honestly, it took me a while to even figure out what to call out in this image. There's just so much
stellar
going on
nursery.
Here. It's so beautiful. One thing that really stands out to me
enfermeira
is
estelar.
You
Não
get
entendi
this
aqui
sense
o
of
que
depth
ela quer
and
dizer com isso.
texture from this new data. There's a lot going on. To call out a few specifics, first of all, in general, the Karina Nebula is a nearby star-forming region within our own Milky Way galaxy, about 7,600 light years away. And in this view, we see some great examples, first of all, of hundreds of new stars that we've never seen before. We see examples of bubbles and
centenas aí
cavities
de
and
novas
jets
estrelas
that are being
nascendo
blown
aí.
out by these newborn stars.
É tipo uma enfermeira cuidando aí do nascimento das
sort of
estrelas,
lurking in
né?
the
Ou uma
background
mãe,
up
né?
here.
Uma mãe.
We see
É o
examples
nascimento
of
das
structures
estrelas,
that honestly we don't even know what they are. Like, what's going on here? The data is just so rich.
São estrelas
And there's something really
nascentes. Que
special
coisa
about the
linda, né?
infrared. Infrared can actually see deeper into these star-forming regions.
Absolutely. That's one of the great things about infrared is it really does reveal what's going on here in a really cosmic sense. And in general, what's happening in sort of this overall landscape is we have these gigantic, hot, young stars up here to the top of this rim. And the radiation and stellar winds from those stars
São estrelas gigantes ali,
and
novas,
running into all of this. This is gas and dust. And of course, we know that gas and dust is great raw material for newborn stars and baby planets. But there's a flip side to this story and also a little bit of a mystery because these same processes can serve to sort of erode away this material and stop star formation. So we have this sort of delicate balance going on of new stars being formed, but at the same time,
formação de novas estrelas, estrelas nenéns.
And for me, when I see an image like this, I can't help but think about scale. You know, every dot of light we see here is an individual star, not unlike our sun.
Cada pontinho de pontinho pequenininho é uma estrela individual nascendo.
You know, our sun and our planets and ultimately us were formed out of the same kind of stuff that we see here. We humans really are connected to the universe. We're made
Nós
of the
humanos
same
estamos conectados ao
stuff in this
universo, vendo
beautiful
uma imagem
landscape.
dessa aqui,
And
né?
actually, the Karina Nebula was one of my favorite images from Hubble. So Hubble looked at this as well, right?
Absolutely.
Ela falou de uma imagem
the
do Hubble aí
image
também.
of this is also spectacular. We saw it in a different kind of light when Hubble took an image of this particular nebula. And then you can see amazing things with Hubble, but when we zoom into this new image, we're able to see so much more detail.
Ela fala pouco da imagem do Hubble. E quando você dá zoom aqui no James Webb, consegue ver muito mais detalhes na imagem.
What these two amazing observatories are able to do really in tandem with each other.
Thank you so much. And again, congratulations.
A imagem do James Webb é muito mais detalhada, né, do que do Hubble. O Hubble tirou essa mesma foto, essa mesma imagem também interessante, né?
So as we're wrapping up, one of the things that I really have to say is the journey that we've been going on is so very dramatic for me. So we've gone all the way from the birth of stars. And we are all the way from the distant galaxies to the birth of stars.
Fomos desde as galáxias distantes até o nascimento de estrelas, buraco negro, exoplanetas.
In the very, very early
muito
days
lindo,
of the
né?
universe, to star and planet formation very nearby. So right now, I'm very honored to have our last special guest. This is the administrator of NASA.
Então o Bill Nelson vai falar aí as palavras finais aí desse evento. Né?
What a banner day. It's clear that Webb represents the best of NASA.
O Webb representa o melhor da NASA.
Maintains our ability to propel us forward.
Nossa habilidade de ir mais longe.
For risk-taking, for inspiration.
Inspiração.
And we don't want to ever
tomar os riscos calculados aí. Falou um pouquinho dos valores da NASA, né? Excelência. Inclusão. A NASA está em inclusão também. Muito bonito esse valor da NASA a partir de 2020.
Something incredible is waiting
nós vamos continuar explorando os céus nesse novo passo aí para a humanidade. nas famosas palavras do Carl Sagan, alguma coisa incrível que nós estamos conhecendo está se tornando realidade. Eu falo um pouco do Carl Sagan, eu não peguei direito aqui a tradução. Esse aí é o nosso telescópio James Webb. Está terminando aqui, vou lá buscar a Maria na escola, vamos terminar aqui já também.
I also want to give a big shout out for the superb media team who's
Valeu, Michelle, obrigado.
This broadcast
Thank you. Thousands of people around the world, né? Milhares de pessoas no mundo assistindo esse evento agora, conectados aqui pela internet, né?
NASA, and especially the Goddard Space Center.
Goddard Space Center, ESA, Canadian, a NASA, Canadian Space Agencies, European Space Agency. Agradecer a todo mundo aí que participou, né? E aí tá lá, nasa.gov/Web First Images. Quem quiser ver essas imagens aqui, agora eu vou fazer o download já também, brincar e publicar lá também.
July 12, 2022 marks a huge day for science.
É um grande dia para a ciência. Pode fazer o download de todas as imagens, hein? 12 de julho de 2022. Um grande histórico dia aí para a ciência. Primeiras imagens do James Webb Telescope. Que coisa linda, coisa linda, coisa linda, coisa linda, coisa linda. Aí! Coisa linda demais aí, ó. Tá passando as imagens aí de novo. Deixa eu tirar umas fotos aqui enquanto dá. Ai, 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 coisa linda demais. Acabou! Acabou! É gol! Coisa linda, coisa linda. Vamos sair aqui então já. E aí já tenho que buscar a Maria Cecília na escola ali também. E é isso, James Webb Telescope. Acabamos de ver as primeiras 5 imagens. Já tínhamos visto a primeira ontem, né? Aquela coisa linda da formação das primeiras galáxias há 4,6 bilhões de anos. Mas teve um 3,5 bilhões. Tem uma diferença aí de tempo aí da formação das imagens, que eu vou ter que investigar um pouquinho aqui, porque a NASA divulgou que era 4,6 bilhões de anos atrás, né? O tempo de que a gente está vendo a imagem. Mas o Bill Nelson, numa entrevista, diz 13,5. E hoje aqui também, acabamos de ver nessa live aqui também, que também uma das cientistas disse ali 13,1 bilhões de anos atrás, que é lá no comecinho da formação do universo, parece que 1 bilhão de anos aí depois do Big Bang aí, né? E aí, 4,6, formação da Terra, ou 13, tem uma diferença temporal de bilhões de anos aí, que ficou meio nebuloso aí, né, com essas imagens aí. Mas depois a gente tira a vista aí. Vou baixar as imagens todas aqui, essas imagens, então, baixar, vamos namorar um pouquinho elas, compartilhar nas redes aí, olha então, acompanhe, sigam aí o canal, se gostaram aí da cobertura, siga o canal. Vamos acompanhar muito o programa Artemis aqui também, que vai para a Lua em setembro, né? Então fiquem atentos aí. Esse ano eu acabei indo muito aí para a ciência, né? Estou fazendo muito aqui lives de divulgação científica aí também, educacional, de cunho educacional científico, né? Mas a gente vai voltar para a literatura, hein? Literatura é meu carro-chefe aí, nós vamos voltar para a literatura ainda esse ano. Dei uma pausa aí para falar um pouquinho de ciência, porque a Artemis me pegou de cheio a Artemis com o lançamento que vai ser agora em setembro, né? O primeiro retorno aí da exploração à Lua. E aí é o James Webb, as imagens do James Webb e outras aí também de ciência. Divulgação científica e literatura também, que é um dos carros-chefes do meu canal. Se quiser, siga aí o canal YouTube, e a gente vai falar nele basicamente ciência, literatura e inclusão social. Os temas que nós trabalhamos também. Beleza? Deixa eu lá buscar a Maria Cecília, que tadinha. Ela está me aguardando lá na escola. Beijo. God bless NASA. God bless European Space Agency, Agência Espacial Europeia. God bless Canadian Space Agency, Agência Espacial do Canadá. God bless James Webb Space Telescope, o Telescópio Espacial James Webb, que esse projeto aí continua aí engrandecendo as pesquisas internacionais, científicas, mundiais, para a gente conhecer um pouquinho mais dessa evolução das galáxias e da formação dos planetas, formação do universo. Um abraço e até a próxima. Adorei essa live, adorei.